Here we go. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of my podcast, Let's Talk Horses. I'm joined this evening / this morning by the amazing Lockie Phillips, who is the founder and creator of Emotional Horsemanship, amongst many other things, I'm sure, in your lifetime that you've, been, that we've all been fortunate enough to sort of share with you and be a part of. And Lockie, I would love for this next little while, however long we have together, to bring a bit more of you to the world, to my listeners, to my viewers, and really just invite you to make this time, anything you want to talk about. I know it's early in the morning over there. I do really appreciate you being on. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. And It's not so early in the morning. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. So that's quite reasonable.
Nice. Awesome. So when I first have a guest on my podcast, the first thing I like to ask is, how did this whole journey begin for you, Lockie? How did horses first come into your life?
Well, I don't remember the first time horses came into my life. I do have what might be a photo of that first moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a human potato in the arms of my aunt, my father's sister, and I am looking with awe and wonder at this creature that's stretching her nose towards me, because in the 90s, late 80s and early 90s, my aunt, who lives in rural Australia, went through a horse phase, and she had this wonderful mare named Sarah, and I believe Sarah would have been one of the first horses I met, but I don't remember the first time. All I remember is from my first memories, horses were on the brain. So that's where it all got started. And then I had many other adventures and then came back to horses a little later. And now here I am.
So amazing. And well, I'd love to jump a fair bit ahead and then maybe we can sort of go back or whatever. But emotional horsemanship, what is it and how do you remember how that part of your journey came about?
Yes. Which part would you like to discuss? Because there's a lot to it. There's many pieces.
Well, I know a fair bit. I've followed you and I know a fair bit. Although, I really only found you probably 3 months ago now, I would say, that I saw you advertising your course that I'm a part of called Homecoming 3. And so maybe, I don't know how to frame this question, but there was something so welcoming in the way that you spoke about this course that you were presenting. It's the third one you've done, hence Homecoming 3. I guess maybe the inception of it, I guess I'm trying to capture the essence of what emotional horsemanship is as far as you, but also the people that you draw to you with what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the marketing speak on it, but it took me years and years to develop that elevator speech. Years. Before I had a good, succinct elevator pitch, I was just an instructor. I was a young instructor, trainer, traveling around, working for myself. I was doing a bunch of stuff with saddles. I had a side hustle with hoof care for a while. But always, 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 I was interested in the horse's experience of the training. I was less interested in what I wanted. I was less interested in my experience of the training. I was interested in the horse's experience of the training. And my experience of the training, my interest in it went insofar as my fascination that the horse could really enjoy it also. And then naively walking into the industry thinking that would be a popular idea. And I think there's a lot of rhetoric that says that they believe in that and that is popular about that. But in my opinion and experience, I've seen too little approaches that really put the horse first.
Oh, sorry.
You're right. And what does it even mean to put the horse first? For me, I care about how my training makes the horse feel. And that's the beginning, middle, and the end of the story always. So in a really simple way, emotional horsemanship is a training methodology and approach that prioritizes how the horse feels. I'm working with elements of science. I'm working with elements of empathy. So there's a strong personal coaching component. And I'm working with elements of feel. The easiest way to describe feel would be, what do you feel? How do you feel? So there's a mechanical component. And in the mechanical component, we honor and observe 5,000 years of horsemanship traditions and all the success that can come through observing certain traditions with horses, which is basically a 5,000 year long scientific experiment. What works, what doesn't, what works, what doesn't. But I'm not indiscriminate about that either. We put a discerning and critical eye on traditional practices and seek to edit them so that the horse's experience is put in first position always. That's what we're doing. And it's really, honestly, if I'm being really frank with you, Sarah, it's a category of one. So if someone's trying to understand, well, is it dressage? Well, yes, we use elements of dressage. Is it horsemanship? Yes, we use elements of horsemanship. Is it clicker training, food reward training? Yes, we welcome food rewards. Is it pressure-based training? Yes, we welcome pressure-based training. It's elements of all of the above, and I believe it can stand on its own as a category of one.
That's so cool. So who are your teachers then? Where, like, if you were looking at this like a roadmap, what leads you to take the next turn or where to go next on this journey?
Well, I had some really good teachers with horses, and they're still chosen family to this day. But I know it's trite to say, but my teachers really were the horses.
Yep.
That's really honestly the truth. I had some great teachers, some great mentors around horses, and I continue to search for, obtain, curate, care for, garner relationships with people that I want to learn from. That continues and will continue forever. But really, the teachers are the horses. And I had a pretty intensive, rich, and varied life before I started working with horses, even despite and sometimes because of my age. But I have had the opportunity to integrate a lot of non-equestrian experiences, learnings, and knowledges into my work with horses because I found for me a lack of inspiration in the horse world itself. There was some, but just not enough for me. So there's a whole range of books that I've read that have nothing to do with horses that have inspired the way I train. I had a wonderful mentor in Australia who has passed away, and I carry on her life's work. She was a huge inspiration in everything I do. And then my experiences as a dancer also informed that as well. So I'm coming in from a multidisciplinary approach, but the teachers, really, the primary teachers have been the horses themselves.
So your first horse, and I've heard you talk about before, is his name Sunny? Is that Sunny?
Sanson, yeah, Sani.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship, like how he came into your life and a little bit about, I mean, I'm assuming here, but I guess he was one of those first teachers for you, like, you know, strong teachers for you. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah. So by the time I found Sani, I was already working with horses. And he was a weird, floppy looking draft cross that I wasn't paying much attention to for a year. And this was it at a location in southern Spain, in the mountains of southern Spain, where I spent my summers and often my winters also. I would go there, I would work with the horses. Every year they had a fresh batch of horses because they had a very high turnover. And so it was really the best way that I could get access to large volumes of horses. And so he was one of the horses there. This is a trekking business in the south of Spain. And I don't share exactly what that business is because I want to protect their privacy and I don't want their business to have any ill effects of anything I report about what I witnessed there, because I saw a lot of good and I saw a lot of bad. And the reason why I have no contact with them anymore is because I just saw too many things that, for me, in my opinion, allegedly are bad. So anyway, he was there, and it went on the task list one day, Lockie School Sanson. And I had no idea about him. They didn't tell me anything. They just said, go try it. We're going to see if you guys work together. What I didn't know is how much they had been struggling with him. What I didn't know is that the proprietor, who's a lifelong horse person, very, very experienced, has had hundreds of horses in her life, owned hundreds, and then more besides, couldn't figure him out, couldn't get his focus. He had become dangerous because he was pushy, and he was dangerous not because he was aggressive, but because he had an enormous amount of panic, an enormous amount of anxiety, and would just take off. And he's a strongly built horse, and they just couldn't contain whatever it was he was struggling with. So I didn't know all of that, and I brought him in to the corral, and I started working with him, and we fit. I said at the time it was like putting on a glove that had been made for my hand, and we just got along. And by the end of that summer, I was taking him out on the mountain by myself, and we got along not because his behavior was perfect, far from it. One of the first times I got on him, my foot hadn't found the second stirrup, and he took off at a gallop. And this was in a small corral, and he careened around at a gallop in the corral, and then found the exit, ran out of the exit, ran into the barn, and the door to the barn was a human-sized door, so I had to duck lest my head be taken off. And then he ran into the barn and walked into a stall. Now, these weren't like lovely American or European stalls. These are Spanish stalls. So the horses can basically walk in and walk out. They can't turn around. They can't look around. There's like concrete partitions, and they just stand in them. Spanish style stalls. There's enough space for you to stand next to them on one side. So he ran into one of those, and he stood there panic stricken and froze. And I went, okay. And I got off him and I pet him, and I said, let's try that again. We went back into the arena, and good thing I had a good seat. I had very good teachers for seat, so I was able to stay on. So that was the first time I actually rode him. And somehow, even though he had big problems, I just felt really comfortable with him, especially when he was having problems. I just felt really comfortable, and I felt like he was really open to everything I had to say and was really looking for help, and I had the tools to help him. And 2 years later, it took me 2 years to convince them to sell him to me, because they were convinced he was going to be a calm, fluffy, friendly-looking beginner's horse for overweight riders. And he completely disagreed with that. And it took him 2 years to convince them that that was a terrible idea. And by that point, he had put someone in hospital. By that point, he had become even worse. So, and then he got really sick. And once he got sick, they decided to sell him to me. So I ended up buying him, and he was about 100 kilos underweight and pretty close to the edge. And he's been in my life ever since. And now he's taken my life and really reformed it in his image. And so he's really the keystone of, I wouldn't say my work, I say my life at this point. But I've got thousands of horses under my belt. But I talk about him, and I've spoken about him so much because he is my horse. And so therefore, I have the freedom to say everything I'm thinking about him. When I'm working with other people's horses, I can speak about them to a certain degree, but I don't have the freedom to say everything about someone else's horse in a public way. So because I've had access to my own pretty early on, I was able to not hold back.
Wow. And so can you talk a little bit about because I can just feel people out there, and maybe me included, when you meet those horses that are so much, like for him, it was the anxiety or the pressure of the outside world that he felt. Do you remember, like, how did you get in? How did you get into his world?
I had tools. So I had been training very intensively for a few years with my mentors in Poland, because I was actually living in Poland at the time. And I had some really, really good quality horsemanship mentors who lived on a small farm in the middle of nowhere in Poland. And I spent every weekend, some evenings, and every holiday that I could with them when I was working in the theater. And when I wasn't there with them, I would be in the city studying, reading, watching videos. Anyone that had an online offering anywhere, I was studying it. Whatever I could afford or get my hands on, I was studying. So I was studying very intensively for a few years. And you can remember, I'm an Australian. I'm living on my own in Eastern Europe. So I have no distractions. I've got this almost monk-like life living in Eastern Europe by myself. And so my life was extremely pared down, simple, and had enormous capacity for reflection and learning. So in this 8-year period in Poland, I think I went through 20 years of learning and growth because I had no distractions. There was no family dinners. There was no Easter party. I mean, of course, there were parties and there were things, of course, there were things going on. I'm not saying I was no slouch. I kept it moving, but it was a very undistracted life. And I continue to live a very undistracted life now, which is one of the reasons why I love living in Europe. So I was studying a lot. So by the time I got in front of a horse like Sunny that had really serious issues, I had the chops to deal with it. I had very specific training tools that I would just reach into my toolkit and think and say, well, he's got this issue. I think this tool could work. And initially I tried one tool on him and it worked mechanically, but I could see the heart wasn't following. So I had another tool, which was like my secret tool that I used only when no one was watching me because it would cause too many questions if I used it in the wrong company. But I pulled that out. I'm like, what do you think of this? And he's like, same result mechanically, but much better internally. And I'm like, right, so that's the way we're going. And yeah, I had tools, I had technique. And now I teach those.
Wow, my brain is going in a million directions. But when you look back over your life and you see where you're at right now, do you feel like everything has led to this moment? Like, I mean, you know, like I said, I've followed you, and and you can dive in and tell people as much about your past, but wow, I mean, you've created quite a phenomenal and extraordinary life. And you look at, you know, a guy growing up in Australia that now runs, you know, this amazing business and a horse farm in southern Spain. And can you just talk a little bit about?
Yeah, I'm in northern Spain now. Mucho calor.
No.
The south is too hot. I don't recommend. No recomiendas the south of Spain. It's too hot. It's too dry. It's too expensive. It's too overpopulated. I live in the northwest of Spain, which, if I'm speaking American, it's like the Pacific Northwest of Europe. So right now we have these Atlantic fronts like slamming into the northwest of Spain, and it's like, it looks like Ireland outside. It's like
Really?
that we have really long summers, beautiful long dry autumn, fall, and like a Disney type spring. It's just like green with flowers and blue sky. It's just like out of control. And then very intense, extremely wet, short winters. And it doesn't get very cold like it does in Northern Europe. And because of our Western position, we have very long daylight hours, even in the winter. So I live in the northwest of Spain now. I used to live in the south. I spent about 10 years going backwards and forwards to the south. And then I lived in the south of Spain for 4 years. Up in the Sierra Nevada National Park. But now I live in a lovely region called Galicia. Just don't tell anyone else how wonderful Galicia is because I like it myself.
I'm going to Google it, but I won't move there, I promise. But I just love geography and finding out about different parts of the world. I've not been to Spain. It's one of the few European countries I've never been to, but I have very close friends that live in Mallorca.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is south, right? Because they always talk about how hot it is there all the time.
is an island. It's in the Balearic Islands. So it's about, it's like an overnight ferry from Valencia. It's like I think it would be like a 40-minute flight from Barcelona. But one of my best friends in the world is Mallorquin. And
Wow.
actually, horses re-entered my life as a young adult when I was holidaying in Mallorca in my early 20s. And I found myself at a guest finca where they bred horses, made wine, did olive oil. And I was like, I was chilling. I was like, I'm going to book a holiday. I took a holiday at this finca and they had horses. And I'm like, oh my God, I remember being around horses. So took some lessons and then went on some treks. And I found myself at the Bay of Alcudia, which is like this amazing like beach with white sand crested by mountains either side, on a horse galloping across the sand. I'm like, I will never be the same again. Oh my God, they're back in my life. So it's actually an experience in Mallorca 15 years ago that pushed me to bring horses back into my life. So in a little village called Felanich in central Mallorca. So Mallorca is a very special place in my heart. I've spent a lot of time there. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've lived like 7 lifetimes within your lifetime already? I mean, I don't know exactly how old you are, but I think you're quite a bit younger than me. And I mean, hearing your story, how old, sorry?
I'm 35.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I was reading that post on your Facebook page that I think it was this morning that you wrote about someone saying that you are someone that has your shit together. And I was like, when I look at you, I see someone that has an absolutely phenomenal work ethic. Like, I think you are someone that is constantly pushing the boundaries of your chosen life's work. And I just think it's so amazing what you're creating, but also just okay, so let me formulate that into a question. What motivates you, Lockie? What keeps you going?
Firstly, thank you for the compliment. I have a complicated relationships to compliment, and I'm learning how to have that receiving energy. So I appreciate you complimenting me. That's very nice of you, and I appreciate the sign of respect. What motivates me? Try being an immigrant.
Yep.
Try living a life where you're in a country where you can say hello and thank you very much. Try living a life in a location where everything you've ever worked for in your adult life, all of your relationships, all of your memories, all of your ties and attachments, your animals, all of that relies upon you staying in work. Now, having said that, now in Spain, I'm a permanent European resident. I only have an Australian passport. I can apply for the Spanish passport in another 3 years, but I have to pass a language exam. Then the language exam, essentially, you have to be fluent, and a cultural exam also. So that's quite difficult to do, or marry a Spaniard, which is not outside the realm of possibilities either. Stay tuned. But now I it's not that I can relax now. It's that Spain, because I've been here so long and I've been in Europe so long and I've paid taxes in Spain for so long and I've never spent a single day on the European continent legal. I've always gone through the right channels. I've always had my paperwork together. Spain now considers me, according to my immigration lawyer, a VIP resident. So if I apply for a renewal of my card, they don't ask questions. They simply give it to you. Right. Which is exactly what happened last year when I renewed my card. My card has to be renewed every 5 years. So can you imagine your adult life being brought into question every 5 years, where you basically have to apply for a card that gives you permission to continue living your adult life where you are? So think, if I stayed in Australia and I had an Australian passport and I was entitled to be in Australia until I had my last breath and no one would ever question it, that's a different kind of sensation, a different kind of level of comfort. And for some people can breed complacency. For me, I don't have that luxury of complacency, because in order to remain in my adult life here in Europe, my chosen life in Europe, I have to be working. And not only that, like bills have to get paid, et cetera, et cetera. So primarily that's what motivates me. I'm not that different. I consider myself working class. And also, I come from a family where work is considered and worshipped with a capital W. I have 2 extremely hardworking parents my mum has actually been semi-retired for 15 years after she sold her business. But she worked like crazy. She's a genius businesswoman. My dad is self-employed. My mum was always self-employed. Most of my uncles and aunties have all been self-employed. My grandfather was self-employed. And so it runs in my blood. And dad is a national expert in Australia. He's a lobbyist. He's a national expert in self-employment, small businesses, industrial relations, and contracting. And so it sort of apple doesn't fall far from the trees. So in my family, work is like the third family member. I got me and my brother. We work. We talk about work. So it's just really important to me. Then I have a work ethic. Also, I have to let everyone know that I paid a dear price to have a work ethic. I paid a really serious price to have a work ethic. When I found myself in Switzerland at 18 studying at the Zurich University of the Arts, the Dance Academy of Zurich, I had what I can actually categorically say was an abusive teacher, and he was German, and it was like Arbeit. Do you understand? Work. And they were abusive. I can say they were abusive because I participated in a 6-month investigation into allegations of abuse, which were confirmed also with my testimony. And those people have been fired and will never work again. They spent 20 years abusing children at that school, and I was one of them that experienced that and worked their weapons. So I had installed into my nervous system when my brain was still forming from the age of 18 that you wake up and they would say, kill yourself. That's what they would say. You have to kill yourself to get anywhere. Now I'm on this adult journey of learning how to detach from workaholism and learning how to reclaim my time and how to build for sustainability, but it doesn't come naturally to me. What requires no discipline from me is working like a crazy person. That requires no discipline. All I have to do is let go and I will work up to bone. What requires discipline for me is pulling it back in and saying no. So most people have to learn how to push themselves. I am coming to the place where I can trust I will always push. I have to learn how to pause. And so learning how to pause so that I have sustainability so that I can continue this work for 20 years and not burn out after 5. And I'm succeeding at that process so far.
And how do you do that? What are your keys to finding your time, finding your space, and having that for yourself? Do you have things that you practice each day, or is it just being super aware of your work ethic and tenacity?
The answer is yes to all of the above, but also teamwork. One of the regrets is not getting a team sooner. So working with my team, delegating within my little team, and also the people I've selected and chosen to align with in my team are people who I can be really open and honest with, and they hold me accountable whenever I get too far. Michelle a few times has said to me, Lockie, it's time to step away from the computer. It's time to step away. I've had Christy say, Lockie, take a breath, bring it in, come back to your body. We're going to be all right. This is fine. So not only team, but my friendships are really important to me. I'm so blessed to have the best friends in the world, all around the world. I've got a port in like a port in every storm, if that makes sense. Anywhere I go in the world in echoing distance, I'll be able to find someone I can hang with. So really, really blessed there, leaning into my friendships, leaning into community, also therapy, straight up therapy. My home. I've come to Galicia to stop running because I've learned, and a lot of people my age, they want to go travel, they want to go do this, they want to go live there. I'm like, I did that. I know that wherever you go, there you are.
Yep.
And so I've come to Galicia to stop running and to meet myself.
Yep.
And it's really fascinating and a beautiful opportunity at this age to really meet with myself again and to see what's there, and then get the hell over myself and go serve others.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about your home base, your farm, your sanctuary there? I think there's a lot of things in what you're saying that are very true in my world as well. And I know with your career and your work, you do get to travel, right? You get to go and do clinics when you choose to. But can you talk a little bit about your farm, your home, and what that's like? What you've
Yeah,
done, what it looks like? Yeah.
yeah. So I had this long-standing dream since 15 years to move to Spain, and I finally managed to do that 6 years ago. And was looking around the south of Spain initially, and then very quickly discovered that it was an untenable situation for me down there. If you're a working person and you want to have horses in Spain, the south for me is just, it's too hard, it's too hot. I succeeded. It's not that I failed at it. I succeeded at it really, really well. But the conditions are really tough on the horses. It's like a 6-7 week summer where the temperature, even at nighttime, doesn't drop below 35 degrees Celsius. And it's a seven circle of hell. And you can't get grass hay at an affordable price. You just can't. It's straw. And I had a horse with a severe immune disorder, which had digestive symptoms. So it was just like 4 years of managing chronic diarrhea. And it was so I looked for what I thought was one of the best climates in Spain for horses. It also happens to be a depopulated region, which was it's Galicia is depopulated because Spain's last fascist dictator, Franco, depopulated the region intentionally.
Wow.
And so looked for the right place, found it. I had friends who were up here. I came and visited them, fell in love with the region. And then I spent 2 years going backwards and forwards to Galicia farm shopping. And it's really affordable as well. So if I was to buy this farm in Australia, I'm looking at mid 7 figures for this farm in Australia. I did not pay that here. And I got it tax free because I was under the age of 35 when I bought it. And depopulated regions in Galicia are trying to attract young people by giving you your tax back after purchase. So, found this farm, knew straight away that this was the best farm I'd looked at. Bought it. It was a very good house that still needed some work, but very good, very, very good house offering a very good standard inside. Older, 17th century, maybe 18th century, maybe that kind of old, with some original features. 20 years ago, it was renovated, so it's well insulated. It doesn't have any damp problems, which is amazing. And it was just a green field, a 1 hectare green field with nothing on it except like 2 oak trees, and it was ringed by oak and pine. So it had nothing on it. And so I spent the last 2 years building out what I could build out here for the horses. And I'm really proud of how far we've come and the standard of living that my horses are able to have here. And it's starting also to look nice now. So, and I've bought some more land just around the corner. It's quite normal in Spain that people will have land in separate plots that are all disconnected. They'll kind of patchwork. So, because it's a very community-oriented environment. So I've got a north field around the corner, which I turn them out on in the summertime and other parts of the year when the pasture's in good shape. And I've got this little hub, and I love it. And it's really well contained. If I need to take care of all the horses and the land on my own, I can. But even then, I've got employees who help me. But it's really contained. It's very sustainable for the future. So it's not like I'm managing 20 hectares or something, which would just about end me, I think. But it's a very sustainable farm. And yeah, I'm very proud of it. We're still building it out.
That's so awesome. Yeah, we just purchased a property in Tasmania and it's 100 acres, which I think is maybe like 40 hectares or something like that. And I think we're just realizing now we're like, okay, let's just pretend it's like 20 or 30 acres and work with that. And then the rest can just,
That's right.
it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot, isn't it? So how many horses do you have now?
4. It's enough.
And yeah, right. I have 3 now and I'm like, ooh. And who are they? Can you briefly tell us a little bit about them? Do we
Yeah,
know?
so there's Sunny that you know, and then Caleb, who's an Arabian cross, who knows what.
Mhm.
A 26-year-old rescue came to me. It was my COVID project. His owner was killed by her other horse just before the quarantine. She was found. She was a neighbor. She was found in the morning in her round pen. She'd been kicked, and she hadn't survived the kick. And they all thought it was this horse, Caleb, but it wasn't. It was her younger horse that did it. But Caleb was very behavioral. He was attacking people, etc. He had a very bad history, and then a troubled relationship with her, I was told. And I was his last chance saloon. It was me or euthanasia. So he was sent to me, and he's totally retired. I'm even setting up the farm so he could be retired from most handling also. And he has dignity and hay and friends and care. And he's 26. And I'm very, very confident he's going to get well into his 30s, just like looking at me like, where's my hay? Thank you. It's Caleb. And I love him. And he is one of my best teachers because I welcome people here to the farm for retreats, which is a 5-day intensive weekend, and for internships, which is a minimum 2-week, maximum 4-week live-in study experience. So he's one of my best teachers because he's so clear, and he actually builds people's confidence, which is strange. You wouldn't think he could, but he does. And he has a lot to teach. So yeah, there's Caleb, and then there's Oki, who's my 3.5-year-old American quarter horse. I wasn't looking specifically for a quarter horse. I was looking for a horse that I would be able to know what happened every day of their life from birth and be absolutely assured that there was no abuse. And I had a friend who bred a horse, and I was like, let's collaborate on this because I can't raise a youngster. So for 2 years, she raised him at home with his mum, weaned him really slowly. He's never been abused. He's never seen the sharp end of a stick. He doesn't know what that is. And he is a firecracker. He's got Poco bloodlines, and it's like having a 400-kilo border collie at home. And he has brought harmony to the land, but now he's bringing play and chaos to the land also. But I love him, and he's just growing up. At 3.5, he's too young to be ridden. And I'll start developing him probably in the springtime a little bit. So he's a lot of fun, and he's going to be keeping me fit in my 40s. I'm very convinced I'm going to struggle to keep up with him. And then there's Sereno, who came to me from the YouTube influencer Matt Harnacki 3 years ago now, who is this 17-1 Andalusian god, basically. And who had a lot of physical health issues, lots. He was more or less tentatively sound when he came to me, but he had a lot of health issues. I knew that when I bought him. I knew that exactly. I was very clear about that. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to buy this horse from Matt, because he could have sold to anyone and he chose very carefully. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity, because this horse has been really interesting to work with. I love him very much, and he's been a great partner, and he's doing really, really well now, in as much work as I have time to do with him. Sound, happy. Also, he's got a tricky character. He doesn't make it easy for the horse first position to stay in first position. He doesn't make it easy for that to happen, because he has a self-abandonment issue around responses, and an overworking issue, a little bit like me, as if by design. And so, yeah, those are my 4 boys right now. I'm dying to have a mare, because it's a sausage party out there. I'm dying. my license from my municipality for my land permits 4 horses, not more. I could expand to 5, but if I wanted more than 5 horses, I would have to apply basically for a zookeeping license, and then I would have to have totally different infrastructure on the land, and I don't want to have more than 5. And if I get a mare, I want 2, not 1. I think mares need each other. So yeah, I would like a mare, but I'm happy with my 4 boys right now. I was raised by mares. Now I've got a sausage party, but they're good. It's really good, and it works really well. They work really well together.
That's so amazing. So can we dive in a little bit now into your courses and what you offer? And what I'd really love to look at is the community that you're building. And I guess I probably would assume to say it's taken a little while. You've built it over, years, a few years or a lot of years. Can you talk a little bit about like what that gives you and sort of the importance of having people around you that share your values on any journey in life? But I think really specifically because, you spoke at the beginning about being very much a party of one. Like, what does the community bring? Like, can you talk a little bit about that? You don't see this much in the world where there's this much coming together of people that really share such a core value of ideals.
Yeah. So the notion of a category of one basically means that my students, if someone was to ask them, what do you do with your horse? They could say, oh, I do emotional horsemanship. And that would stand on its own. Whether someone else understands that or not is their problem. But I'm building it up so that they can say that, and they can. So that's kind of what that means. I have a lot of online courses available. There's a logical sequence to them. You could do them in step-by-step order, but also we welcome people to enter into the courses at whatever place they're at and choose their own adventure and have a non-linear journey through whatever courses they have. Like you could start with step 2 and study step 1 later if you want, because courses are non-linear, so the offers I've got are non-linear. So I've got online courses and they're self-study, and I now host them on my own platform. It's really professionally put together. It's my own platform. It took me many years to build that out. But prior to that, my courses were available on a public platform called Udemy, and they had a really high rating on Udemy. And that's really where a lot of the trust in the community was built, with my high rating on Udemy, because people would buy these courses, love them, rate them, and now they're on a public market, right? So I had to compete on a public saturated marketplace for a long time. I had a Patreon. Patreon has closed, and now that subscription is now also on my own platform, and that's called the Emotional Horsemanship School. Every month I put 6 to 10 new tutorials there on the school. Plus I have 2 school meetings every month with me and my team live. And there's also like a social media component to it, but it's off social media. We have a community forum, and that's like 19 euros a month. It's very affordable. I wanted an affordable, high quality offer, accessible offer for people who wanted to get lots of information for minimum input. I actually wanted to create that, so I've got that. Then I do clinics, but I'm on a 18-month clinic hiatus right now. Then there are mentorship programs, and that's really where the bulk of my work, 1/3 of my work, is mentorships. And I can explain that later. And then what else have I got? Yeah, retreats and internships here on the farm. And then you can also work with my team. So there's the self-study online courses, but then once every year I do a live delivery 3-month group coaching container. And then that, once it's finished, becomes self-study. And that program's called Homecoming. And you're in Homecoming 3 right now. So this is our 3rd year of doing Homecoming. But the whole notion of Homecoming is sort of like not against journeys, but just offering an alternative to the idea of journey. I remember watching a YouTube video. I think it was Architectural Digest interviewing Anna Wintour or something like this. And they said to Anna Wintour, they said, what fashion term do you think is over and overused? And she looked at the camera through her glasses and she said, journey. It made me laugh, but I thought maybe she's got a point, because if all we do as learners is journey, that's displacement, that's homelessness, right? And learning needs to come home somewhere, literally and figuratively. It's like you go out on a learning journey, which is important. You go learn something new, go and explore a different idea, a different culture. But then you come home and you integrate what you learned into home. And home for me is feeling at home with your horses, like you belong there, like they belong with you, like you have a way of being and working with your horses that feels true, honest, comfortable, and authentic to you, where you never have to question, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? Is this good? Is this correct? All those questions stop and you just feel like you belong there. You know what you're doing, even when you don't know what you're doing, if that makes sense. Not so that you stop going on learning journeys, but so that your learning journeys are even better. And for me, the best learning always happens at home. When I'm in a safe container, I've actually got more cognitive capacity to bring in information than when I'm overextended in the unfamiliar. So that's what homecoming is all about. And each homecoming program has a different theme so far and a different prompt that we explore across a 3-month period. And homecoming is really where I started building community in a serious way, including my team, but also building a place for people who wanted to be at home with us. They wanted to identify with this way of working with horses, and they wanted to do it in community. They were tired of being the odd one out. They were tired of being the weirdo at their barn. They needed other people like them around them who didn't think gentleness was a bad idea, who didn't think patience was dangerous, who looked critically at instruments of violence and tools that have a violent past. And so we're creating a place where all of that is normal and acceptable, and also welcoming people who are maybe transitional in between worlds a little bit, within reason, of course. And we have a lot of return people. It's a very warm container, meaning these people are very familiar with us. I know a lot of these people personally at quite a deep level, and we welcome new people all the time, and we get to know you and we support you. And right now we have 178 students in Homecoming 3. Homecoming 1 had 84, which was remarkable straight off the bat. Homecoming 2 had 125. This year it's 178. And I don't know if it'll keep growing. Maybe next year there'll be less. I don't know. That's not the goal. The goal is not exponential growth, because we are dealing with a finite container. But the community aspect is important, because horses were never supposed to be an individual pursuit. They never have been throughout human history until now. Suddenly, in the second half of the 20th century, first bit of the 21st, horses suddenly became an individual enterprise after 5,000 years of horses always being a community project.
Wow.
And that's a serious issue. The horses are not benefiting. And so we've got to start doing better about community. Also, people who are exerting, I'm just going to say it, bullshit on horses, really good at community. They carpool, they do potluck dinners, they share resources, they have land, they have power, they have boardrooms, they're really good at that. It's been my experience that people like us are really bad at community because we think we have to do it on our own. And so I'm trying to train us to be better at community so that we can lean on each other. And that means that every horse is getting more than one brain working with them. And that can only be a good thing.
Yeah. And another compliment incoming, because, I joined Homecoming 3, I think we're in week 7 now. Yeah. And I'm very much one of those people that, I have a partner, but he travels for work half the time. I live alone on a 100-acre property. I'm like, although I work with a lot of people, I travel the world quite a lot, but everything you've described is just so such a like a pure description of who I am. And I'm like going into your course, I was like, oh, I have to like actually let people in a little bit. Like, and I've been a little bit absent for a couple of weeks because I went to Central America for work. But I joined the Zooms this week, and it was just like this instant being a part of it again. Like there's such an energy you've created with this, that everything you say is so utterly true. There's nothing, there's so much in the horse world where there's a veil, there's so much lies and so much deceit. And sometimes you kind of almost go looking for that. It's like, when's the shoe going to drop? And I just want to say everything that you're creating, and your team and your community that have been with you over these years is, it's truly phenomenal. It's truly a gift. And I'm so fortunate to be a part of it now, and so excited to see what it creates for me and my connections and different people that I will get to meet now and share different experiences with. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to also mention that it's such a rare thing and it's so beautiful.
Firstly, you don't have to reveal yourself to anyone in our community. So we really welcome people who want to come in and be wallflowers. We really welcome that.
Mhm.
And it's really important to me that that my leadership role is to draw a firm line in the sand between community and cult. Firm line in the sand. So I police very rigorously any situation which could tip over into the latter. I police that really regularly, including occasionally being not charismatic and not using. I will deliberately say things that I know will fluster, annoy, or challenge people, not so that I can control them through fear, but just to let them know that I'm not here to only attract you and hold you.
Right.
Trying to create attachments through everyone agreeing with each other and this radical group think that you see in cults. I don't do drumming circles. No one is dancing spiritually. We are not encouraging everyone to think the same. We have people on all ends of the spectrum and all ages. We have people who are like, this is weird, this is new for me, but you guys seem all right. And then I've got people who are like, this is a 10 out of 10. I'm deep into it. This is my identity. I'm going for it. And we welcome all of that. And it's really important to me, everyone in the community is able to retain their individual identity, and that I can retain my individual identity and be myself also, and that my team can be themselves. And so that's really important for us. And that we're not creating a high control manipulative environment, and that the door is always open for people to come and to go and to return if they choose. And good communities, I picture it like a primitive tribe around a campfire. Every individual around that campfire has a different role in the community. You have the healer, the mystic, the storyteller, the aunt, the auntie, the cousin. You have the hunters and the gatherers and the cookers and the preparers and the weavers. You have the whore and the lawyer, and you have that. I mean, we really want everyone to retain their identity and make their unique contribution. It's also, for me, if I have any point of pride, and I know pride goeth before the fall, but if I have any point of pride, is that I have created a very safe place for my community, for the LGBTQIA plus community, very safe place for my community and for neurodivergence and for people who are suffering from sexism or ageism or ableism or racism, that my community is a very safe place for minorities. That's something I'm really, really proud of. And my plan over the next couple of years is to take up more space in that area and be more represent that better. Because that's a big problem in the horse world too. It's another one of the little icky corners that the horse world has. So yeah, I love it. It's already exceeded my expectations, but fulfilled the hopes that I've had. And in my opinion, we're only just getting started.
Right.
Yeah. So
Wow.
if things go the way they should be going, this is only the beginning.
Yeah. And so what next? Like, where do you see this going? Do you have a plan? Are you sort of just allowing it to show
Plan.
up?
There's a plan. Stay tuned. I will just let the actions speak louder than my words on that. We have a
Cool.
plan. We're working on it. We're taking steps. There's many contingencies built in, but we've got a big plan to grow community, hold community together through a recession, create accessibility, continue to innovate approaches, continue to innovate methods, continue to edit methods, and to continue to carve out a category of one where the standards are not being upheld by a mainstream ideal, but we get to decide what our standards for horse training is. We get to decide. And it's a community project where the community, led by me and my team, but the community gets to decide what are the standards that we want. If we could choose, what would we choose? And what would we exclude? So that's going to continue. I'm suspicious and a little, not paranoid, but it's a suspicion I have. Maybe it's because of my theater days of like, you never say fire in a theater, you never whistle in a theater either. That's bad luck. But I don't tell people what I'm going to do. I just do it. And then let people go, oh, he's done all this stuff. Yep. And there'll be more. That's how we roll.
That's so cool. So can you talk a little bit about, you brushed over before the mentoring that you do? Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about you as a mentor, like, the mentorships that you offer, but also what is that? What does it mean to be a mentor to you?
So the mentorships is where I do at least 1/3, if not more, of my work. I used to do extremely high volume. We're talking 55 to 65 lessons every week.
Wow.
Lessons for the public online. So Zoom, Pivo lessons, they work very, very well if anyone's confused. And if that's new information for anyone, just let you know that I can log into my computer to anyone anywhere and teach them with their horse live in real time. And if I'm unsuccessful at verbally describing something that they need to do, then I go out there and I film an example with my horse, and then I've got tutorials, and that's how my school is built, through demonstrations that my clients actually required. So working online has really liberated me to be the horse trainer that is most authentic to me. I don't have to conform to local identities anymore. I can just be exactly what I think I should. So I used to do that, lots for the public. Anyone could kind of walk into my vending machine and book a lesson. That became unsustainable because I just was getting booked out 9 months in advance. And it's like, this is ridiculous. And I thought, oh, it's just busy now. And then 6 months later, I'm still getting booked out like that. And I'm like, no. So I closed public bookings and looked at my wait list, which at the time had 242 people on the wait list for lessons.
Wow.
And it's just true. It's just factual. And I realized that with my time, I could sustainably deliver the kind of work and mentorship and support that gives them real results to between 20 to 25 people. And this would be a minimum 12-month container. And I went through the list, and it was like Sophie's Choice. It was really hard to choose between folks, and I charged appropriately for it. I'm like, this is actually what it costs me to deliver something like this at this level. And for some people that was too much. For some people that was like 100%. Can I pay you more? But I had to charge appropriately for it. So I had to meet with my self-worth. I had to meet with my stickiness around money. And so charged appropriately for it, found 24 people. And first I tested it last year, 2024. I test drove it with one group of 7 people, and it went so well. It was such a transformative year for them that I decided to roll it out this year. So I've got 4 groups, total of 24 people in 2025. Each group I've put together based upon where they are with their horses, what they're working on. We've got a group that's focused on just care and horsekeeping. No training discussions really. It's just life skills, environment design, setup, and we're a 12-month container focusing on that. Then we've got a group of people who are starting fresh, either with young horses, with old horses they want to have a fresh, clean slate with. Then we've got people who have made their beginning and they're progressing through some stuff. So they're looking at the nitty gritty middle 70%. And then I've got people who have basically done all of that work and they're able to work with their horses at a high level, and I can give them kind of high level feedback and they can interpret it. And I've got everyone there from a backyard horse owner who's just really, really on it to someone who at one point in her life was preparing for an Olympic team. And so those are my 4 groups this year. It's my favorite way to teach. They have access to me 24/7, 365 on a WhatsApp group. I do video review, private lessons, loads of group coaching. They have access to all of my online courses and my school and everything I've ever made. They get access to all of that. And I just roll out the red carpet for them. And I am able to mentor them across a long period of time. And the way of teaching means it just actually takes the pressure off the 1-hour lesson format. I don't have to sit there and try to get the information drilled into their brains. They get their money's worth. Because sometimes in a journey with a horse, that horse needs you just to hold space and mark time for sometimes weeks or months at a time. You don't add anything, don't subtract, just let it roll, walk it forward. And in a mentorship container, I can keep my fingers on the temperature on how everyone's going and then apply the right feedback at the right time in a way that you can completely non-predict when the right moment's going to be. But in a mentorship container, I'm able to, if necessary, on a Wednesday night at 11:30 say, now you need to move this direction. And that doesn't work outside of a mentorship container. And so therefore, every single person in a mentorship this year has had demonstrable, real growth. Everyone, whatever growth is for them. And I'm really proud of that because a lot of my colleagues in the online learning space might get really high signups, but the actual implementation that leads to real results percentages is really low. That's very normal in the online learning space. And it's actually a problem in the online learning space in self-study and mentorship containers is that people struggle to get real results because there's a follow-through issue, there's an implementation issue. And in a mentorship, I can encourage, I can give a kick up the butt, and I can hold space. And I can say, nope, do less now, do more now. And we basically become like family to each other. And we've had deaths in the family. We've had relationships break up. We've had diseases. We've had chaoses. We've had floods and earthquakes and someone riding for the first time in 3 years and someone starting their business with horses, someone coming back to horses, someone deciding they're going to move out of the city and buy a ranch, and now they've got 10. And I mean, it's my favorite way to work, and the way my mentorships function year to year is that if someone's been in a mentorship program with me, they have a warm seat there forever if they choose to leave. If they just wrote to me and said, I want back in, I just make space for them and they're back in. And I've got a very low turnover rate, very low. People tend to stick around. So I do mentorships, but also my team has them also. And I'm a particular kind of coach that's not for everyone. I can be very strong, extremely direct, and I'll say the things that no one else in their life will say. And I can be very nurturing and very caring. I'm an Aries sun with a Cancer moon, Cancer ascendant, Cancer incarnate. So it's like, it's a lot of fire with a lot of water underneath. So that's kind of how I am as a coach. And that requires a certain level of confidence in the person that I work with. Because I won't do eggshell stepping. I just won't. I can't. And in my team, we've got people who are different kinds of coaches for different kinds of people with different mental and emotional needs. And that's been very deliberate to curate a small, very small team that is able to meet the needs of different types of people who might resonate with my work, but don't resonate with me personally, if that makes sense. Totally. So it's visualizing myself in my own business, which I really enjoy.
Wow. That's so amazing. I've just enjoyed this time with you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being here and doing what you do. And I'm sure sometimes it's not easy being you in this world, and the things that you choose and the things that you see. And yeah, I just wanted to
Could
take a
choose
moment.
easier, right? I could
Mm,
choose to make things easier on myself. I could choose to do what everyone else is doing to a
right.
certain level. I could choose to agree to the unspoken rules that a lot of horsemanship instructors agree to. We all agree to use whips. We all agree that spurs are only bad on bad legs. We all agree that bits are only bad on bad hand. We all agree to a certain level of intimidation. We all agree that boundaries can be violent. We all agree. So I could agree on certain parameters that would allow me to have an easier pathway. I could agree not to speak on controversial subjects, though I don't think they should be controversial. I could agree to be more mainstream. I could agree to be more circumspect and quiet about my identity as a queer man in this industry. I could attempt to, weaponize my dance career and go into a dressage direction, which would make a lot of sense to people.
Mm,
Uh, choose to have horses that look like horses that other people think are horses. I could go buy myself a sleek, shiny warm blood and therefore market myself to the warm blood community. There are all sorts of things I could do to
mm.
make things easier on myself. But that would be manipulative and inauthentic, in my opinion. And it would very quickly dissolve me into someone that wasn't interested in doing this anymore. So this is the only way I know how to be. And I'm not here to do anything except be 100% myself and encourage other people to be themselves also. And that's not like a take me or leave me, like I'm never going to change. I'm incapable of accountability. Trust me, when I fuck up, I am the first person to know about it and the last person to know about it. And so I don't need anyone else to point that out. And if I get it pointed out to me, it's because I've surrounded myself with people that I trust will. So I could make it easier, but this is how I am and this is what I'm doing. And it's a real privilege to be doing it, even when it's hard.
Wow. Thank you. That was amazing. So one last thing before we wrap it up. If there was, and you don't have to answer this. I don't know if it's really like a question but it's been sort of playing on my mind, because I think a lot about people who are coming into the horse world, or maybe they've been in the horse world for a while and feel very kind of lost and know that there's something else available. What message would you give? Like, the kid going into pony club, or the person that sort of gave up horses for 20 years and now really wants to get back into it. What's one thing that you would tell people to, if you could, not direct them, but show them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that there is something available for them if they're willing to choose something different?
Mm, put your horse first. Care more about what your horse is saying to you than what someone else is saying to you. If you put that first, if you let your horse be your compass that you navigate to, you won't go wrong. Where it goes wrong is when someone exchanges their focus on their horse for the focus on someone else, including me.
Mm,
And if I ever get a client that does that, I know I've got a problem, and I know that they need a very specific level of support and coaching to get them back on where their focus should be and stop putting myself in a guru role. That's very, very toxic. I don't like it. And I will sniff it out like a drug sniffing dog at the airport. So, that's very, very important, that you just listen to your horse or the horses you have access to, and you put them in first position, and you are able to either vote with your feet or protect from your voice or make sure your hands are in the right place. If you can't speak up for the horse, then walk it out for the horse. Walk away from environments where you can't change practices that you know are in the wrong, or take responsibility for your hands when you're in a lesson, because you're the one who's using your hands, not the instructor, no matter what they tell you to do. All horse people need to learn a really important phrase. It's called no thank you. and that's a complete sentence. And if someone says, well, why? You say, oh, thanks for asking. No, thank you, because I don't want to. Period. And so that's really, really important that we develop that kind of strength, because if you stand in that kind of strength, and if you have that kind of focus around the horse, it will lead you to other people who are doing the same. And then suddenly you'll wake up and look to your left, look to your right, and in the front and the back of you, you have people who are strong enough to focus on the horse surrounding you. And that's when things get really fun, in my opinion.
That's so cool. That's so amazing. Mic drop. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lockie, for everything, for being here, for being you, for being in the world, and getting up every day and creating a better world for horses and for people that choose to have better lives with their horses. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Sarah. I've appreciated this conversation very much. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. And we'll post everywhere that people can find you and all of your courses. I'm enrolled in 3 of them, I think. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I can't get enough of it. So thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time. Thanks again, Lockie.
Bye.